Boom.
That's it. That is
honest to God, if you took those 3 panels and just read them out in most sex ed classrooms here in the southern East Coast United States, they would have more sex ed than they had before you did that.
Very true.
Like
when I was in high school, when we went to health class for sex ed, the very first words out of our health teacher's mouth was, "We won't be talking about abortion, homosexuality, or masturbation." Yeah. But we all got those plastic babies where you could pretend like you had sex and were a mother now.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Comic Dissection, your other weekly comic book reading club, or reading substitution. We read them so you don't have to.
Although we do suggest reading them.
It would help, because our descriptions of panels aren't great. So he's standing there, and you kind of see a dude behind him. It's awesome.
I mean, I guess if you want like a thorough, dissection, of in particularly drawn things, we could do that too.
We could, but generally we're more plot and summaries and impressions.
I mean, I guess, if someone wants to pay us extra, we can go through and judge each panel of art.
Oh my god. Like, I would love to make a career of that. So, anytime people want to start dropping money on us, that'd be great. Reno, Dino, Valentino here with the lovely Cecilia Rose, who has brought us the return engagement, part 2 of at least 4.
Of at least 4. There's going to be more.
Yeah, of Semantic Error, part 2.
Yay!
So, I would suggest that if you did not listen to Semantic Error part 1, you go back and do that. And if you didn't read Semantic Error part 1, I suggest you do that. Unless you don't care about spoilers.
Amazon, or, illicit sites on the internet.
That we do not condone.
We also don't uncondone it.
There's a another podcast, I can't remember which one it is, but they always do this joke where they're like, yes, if you legally download something and you delete it within 24 hours, it doesn't count as a crime. So yeah, delete it, read it, delete it, and don't download, delete.
Definitely don't bookmark things on sites that you use, because some of us do that. I mean, here's the thing.
Crime tips.
I do promote actually paying artists for their materials. However,
we're available.
We're available. That's the little asterisk that I put above things, because some things that I like to read, especially because I am a Yahweh enthusiast at this point in time, they don't have actual proper English translations.
They haven't come across the shore yet.
So I can either not get to read things that I like, or
fan translations.
I can find some scanlations somewhere on the internet. Now, the cool thing about Semantic Error, though, is that they're definitely legal sites that you can read this thing on. And I think Manta is only $4 a month or something. So if all you wanted to do was read this one particular manhwa.
And what is Manta's? What are they?
It's an app. It's a it's a phone app that has manhwas on it. And it's got a whole library of different types of things that you can read. So this is not a plug. We are not sponsored by Manta, but they do exist.
Although, contact us.
Yeah, they do exist, and they
Make sure to hashtag them when you post this episode.
Yeah, they are fairly priced. It's not some things, because I've got quite a few apps. Some things you pay per episode for, and those can get a little
pricey.
Expensive.
But it's a good alternative if you are only looking for one thing. So, they've all got different business models, because we live in a world of business where money is thing. Yeah, I just asked because when you mentioned Manta, I thought it was whatever it is, the Twitter alternative, Mastodon or whatever, or Manticore, whatever that is.
No, this is
that's a different substitute.
A webtoon type app that you can read manhwas on. They have a really cool variety. I like them pretty good. They got the Dangerous Convenience Store too, which I will also make you read.
Sounds good. We read that book about the convenience store worker. I hope it's a sequel.
It is not.
Aww.
It is not. It's also a boy love, but juicy supremacy is key here. Look, I'm here for some variety. Okay, you take us down the regular trodden paths of Superman and Spider-Man and all that stuff, and I bring in random Korean boy love novels.
I'm a basic bitch and you're a pervert. Fine. Here
we are. Yeah,
here we stand.
The basic
and we're teaching each other.
And the pervert.
I had a girl over, I handcuffed her last night. I was like, what am I doing? I was like, oh, that's Cecilia. She's wearing off of me. Into a kinkistan.
Hey, you know what? Variety is the spice of life, man.
You should have said yesterday you robbed a bank in a Spider-Man mask, to complete the circle.
I should have.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Well, without further ado, we are not here to stupidly confess to crimes on a podcast.
None of this is legally binding.
Yeah, or real. It's all fake, as far as you know. But yeah, let's dive right into Semantic Error Part 2, where we rejoin our two guys and girl who's rather irrelevant.
She is. The poor girl. She just gets sidelined so hard here.
Yeah.
All right.
This is Jae Young and Singwoo party. Ji-Ye is not invited.
She is not.
No. All right.
So, Part 2 starts where the last one ended. And you get our poor boy Jae Young over here cyber stalking Jahu. I can't say her name. The chick.
Jaye is what I'm saying, and pretending is correct.
Jaye. So she's got a crush on Sungwoo, and Jae Young is jealous, and he wants Sungwoo's attention all for himself.
Yeah, this part was interesting, because at the end of 1, you weren't really sure that this was... I mean, obviously, like,
genre being what it is.
Yeah, but at the end of 1, Jae Young was just like, I just want to be noticed by him because everyone notices me, and that's important to me.
Yeah.
And then, right into episode 2, it's like, oh yeah, I also think I'm in love with him. Like, it seemed very 0 to 60. Like, I mean, maybe it just shows Jae Young's, he's in touch with his feelings.
Well, it's also, I think that sort of what they established with all of the flashbacks with, like, Jae Young, like, noticing Sungwoo before is that he was kind of attracted to him because he likes his neck and he thinks he makes a point.
Yeah, it was a passing. Yeah, it just, at that point, it still seemed like a very passing thing. Like,
and now he's
bisexual man notices another guy's neck. That could just be a hearing gone thing.
But now that he's, like, inculcated himself into Sungwoo's life so much, he's like, fuck.
Or now that someone else is interested.
Oh,
Chick-fil-A on Sunday.
You know what? Fair point. I will give you that. I will give you that.
I'm not saying it can't become something more real later. Most of my relationships start out with petty jealousy. But, that right now, that seems to be where he is.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I also think it's just something of, like, Jae Young's got this attitude of, like, it's how a child will act. Like, if you can't get positive attention, then you'll settle for the negative attention. But that's not what he actually wants,
Yeah, but it is better than nothing. He even says,
nothing.
I don't know if it's here, but he says at some point that, like, as long as he remembers my name now, like, at least he's remembering my name.
There's a part.
Doesn't matter why he's remembering my name, but he remembers my name now, and that's great.
Yes, we are pathetic. But at the end of this, he decides he's going to change up his whole look. Because now that Sungwoo remembers him, maybe he can, like, alter the perception that he's been giving off.
Yeah.
And honestly, my boy looks good in green. Jae Young is so pretty.
Yeah.
We are just here standing. I'm standing Jae Young.
I mean, I'm just... He looks like Edward Nygma's lawyer. He's like, yes, Riddler, I think I can get you off with insanity again. But if you could stop telling the cops before you rob the banks, that'd be fucking fantastic.
So he comes in wearing green, looking nice, and
Yes.
Sungwoo is all like, what does he do?
Well, we should also mention that Sungwoo likes green.
Yeah.
And hates red. He was wearing red earlier to piss him off, and
Yeah.
now he's wearing green because he doesn't hate green. It's his favorite color, yes?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah.
So Sang-woo's doing all of these things that Jae had told him to do about trying to ignore him.
Jae. We can change it every time. It will drive listeners crazy, and I'm fine with that.
I can't remember what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's not important is the part.
She really is.
And like
she is just a small obstacle.
She's just and honestly,
although maybe we're not giving her credit because she's
genuinely like a pretty decent person.
And the first person Sang-woo seems to sort of care about.
Yes.
Like, not be shitty about.
In all honesty, and this is a spoiler for the future, she is dealt with in like 3 panels, and like she is not an actual obstacle.
No.
So it is slightly frustrating
that
it exists. I don't like it when they use women like this. Like this is, and this is actually, as much as I love Semantic Error, and as much as I love the Jae-young Sang-woo pairing, I do find it irritating when women only exist to be problems for. And it's not even like Sang-woo is interested in her romantically. He never, ever shows any remote interest in being like, oh, she's pretty. He doesn't acknowledge that she's a full person.
Well, no, he's like, it's good that we're friends, but we don't need to be the kind of friends that hang out with each other or ever see each other.
It is so frustrating. But yeah, she's dealt with in the future in like 3 panels. So I don't remember her name.
What woman can compete in a man's world, I ask you?
Look. So he's trying to ignore Jae-young, but Jae-young ends up being his partner.
We call this group project revisited.
Yeah, this is part 2 of the group project problem. We just keep coming back to. Mm-hmm. And he wants to change partners, and the teacher's like, you can't. And the TA assigned the partner. So Jae-young gave Sang-woo himself for partner. Like, that was on purpose.
Yeah.
And he can't get out of it, and so all the ignoring is kind of moot, because now you have to talk to him.
Yeah.
And they fill out this Chinese thing. They have to do a skit.
And Sang-woo just, like, types it up in, like, 5 minutes. Yeah. He's like, all right. And if you've ever been in a language classroom for any language, be it, anything from French to Latin, you always have to do the skit. The dreaded skit where your teacher gives you a couple of phrases and is like, make a conversation between however many people are in your group about whatever this is. And there's always a person who wants to get it done as quickly as possible. It's just like, okay, she wants us to say these 2 phrases. How much are the apples? The apples are 5. Okay, we're done. Boom, done. Yeah. And then there's always the person who's like, no, let's be creative. Let's have him try and steal the apples. And then when he gets caught, then he's like, how much are these apples? I was totally going to buy them. And have them kiss at the end. It's going to be crazy. And everybody in the class will laugh. And those 2 people should never be partnered up together.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening here. Sang-woo makes a really boring skit, and Jae-young is like, look, we have to I know, because Jae-young is very much a people person. Mm-hmm. So he's like, hey, this teacher really likes this particular, like, style of thing, so we will we will get extra points if we make it into this whole big thing, this production, and do all these little things.
I will tell you, this gave me actual PTSD about professor pleasing. I remembered, I had some horrible flashbacks to when I was getting my bachelor's degree, and like getting every teacher's little quirks and knowing like, oh, this teacher likes when you do this, and this teacher loves it when you reference this particular person, and like you did this. You found out, like, oh, I know that this teacher really likes Milton. So if I throw in a couple Milton quotes in here, I'm at least getting a B right out the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hated it. It like capitalism. Professor pleasing is the enemy of all true art.
I don't know anything about that. I make it a general rule to try to irritate people to my ability.
Cecilia makes it a rule to not please anyone ever.
Nope. If I have accidentally pleased you at any point in time, I promise that will be rectified. That will be rectified.
No, it will not. Give to the Patreon. You'll continue to do whatever it is that you as a masochist are somehow getting pleasure from. You know what?
Me and a masochist would have perfect chemistry. You like being tortured, and I like torturing. Hey. It works. But, so Jae-young tells him that, he's in drama. The professor's the club advisor. He's got a whole skit thing planned out. He knows how he'll get him like great points and all. He even knows
like the era
that
they should go back in time to.
Jae Young pays attention to people. So that also tells Sang-woo that the day that the walkway was closed off was because Jae Young had one of his drama friends tell him that it was closed.
Shady. Kid's shady.
Jae Young is thorough. And here we get Sang-woo finally like actually paying attention to like Jae Young being pretty, and I love that. I love the panels. I really like the art in this. That is half of what I love about this thing so much.
It's very like the art is very arresting.
Yes.
Although we'll get to it, but my favorite panel in this thing is a very minimalist panel.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll get there.
So they
compare handwritings.
They do. And Sang-woo's trying really hard to ignore him. And Jae Young says he'll behave if Sang-woo will take off his cap. And Sang-woo's not going to do that. He likes his hat.
Well, he's not going to do it because he asked him to.
It's also true.
Like, he very likely would have taken his hat off and scratched his head at some point. But, like, no. Now he's got to keep it on out of stubbornness.
Well, that's also true. But I also think that, like, it's part of his OCD is, like, the way... Because he never takes that fucking hat off. That hat...
It's true. I always... until this part came up, I kind of thought it was just him as a cartoon character, like the same way that like Charlie Brown always wears the yellow shirt with the black lightning bolt, and like Calvin's always in the red.
It's
like,
just that.
No, because Jae Young is always dressed differently.
Yeah.
And Sang-woo is never dressed differently. And you imagine it being like the cartoon where they open up their closet and it's like 20 of the exact same outfits.
Yeah, actually for Sang-woo, they do open up the closet and it is that.
In this one? Did I miss it? Or is it coming up?
I think it might be in a different panel because eventually Jae Young goes home with Sang-woo.
Yeah.
So at some point,
we're heading that way.
You see inside of the closet. And all it is like one black T-shirt and then a bunch of different colored black like flannels striped shirt.
The
things.
Kid's a grunge rocker.
He's got a particular look.
Well, he's got the trucker baseball cap, the grunge hat. Like he would have fit in at a Nirvana show in like 1996, like no problem.
So, anyways, Sang-woo had filled out the skit, and Jae Young took it and filled in all the characters he didn't know. Jae Young is actually pretty good at different languages, which isn't all
just
that
another
surprising.
way to communicate with people, right? Yeah.
Well,
and also back to his like he's just naturally good at everything.
Well, and also I think it's because he actually like goes places and gets awards and like does shit. Like this is actually something that he probably needs to be able to do for his own success in the future.
Yeah.
So,
but it's hard to learn another language if you don't have any interest in connecting with people. So Sang-woo is like already behind the 8 ball when it comes to learning another language because he doesn't have interest in other people. And if you need a motivator to learn another language, it's got to be making connections with people in different cultures.
That's true too.
Sang-woo would have no interest in.
No, Sang-woo's not a people person. Sang-woo decides that Jae Young is the weirdest person he's ever met, which I think is really funny.
Yeah.
So, some of the words Jae Young had filled in were curse words. Because he can't stop himself. I love it.
Yeah.
He gets in trouble with the teacher, and he turns over, and I love this little, like, I tend to hold grudges for a while, with, like, this big shit-eating grin on it. I love it.
Like, I'm still fucking with you.
Yeah, I'm still gonna be fucking with you.
I can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
And all of his little,
Oh, one quick thing about that. I just want to say that it does kind of show, because we followed Jae Young around as well as Sang-woo, like, we know he's kind of right. And it goes back to that old expression that everyone's crazy once you get to know him. Like, even though Jae Young can go through life, make friends with everyone, is naturally a people pleaser, like, everybody likes him, he's also, he very well is the craziest person that Sang-woo's ever met. He is just as crazy, just in a totally different way. And he chameleons better. He's able to hide it and fit in with society better. Like,
well, the ways that Jae Young is crazy are more societally acceptable than the ways Sang-woo is crazy.
Yeah.
I kind of think of it
because he's still social.
Well, yeah, and all of his damage sort of presents in more neurotypical type of ways. Like, he's friendly, he's, like, gregarious, he blends in with surroundings, whereas Sang-woo was sort of like that rock that stands in the middle of the ocean. Like, he's just, like, there, and everything moves around him, but he's not involved in any of it.
Yeah. And people don't like when, like, people aren't affected by them.
Yes.
Like, it's
as is demonstrated.
Multiple times. Like, people want to know that they're affecting the world around them.
Yes,
and when someone comes along who isn't changing for anyone and isn't, like, half the time isn't even aware of their presence, people find that offensive.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
No,
I've dealt with it. It makes no sense to me.
I don't understand it either. Like, just, if someone wants to be left alone, just fucking leave them alone. Like, I don't understand why that's...
I will tell you, we have a mutual coworker. We won't name names on the podcast, but they seem to be, like, magnetized to me whenever I pick up a book, like, to start reading. They're just there and talking, and I'm like, it's like the book summons you. Like, I remember at one time, this guy comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, what are you reading?" And I'm like, apparently a book on how to summon you. Because whenever I open it, there you are. Yes, please leave people alone, because some people's social batteries need time to recharge.
Yes, not everyone wants to deal with people all the time.
Yep.
So, Sang-woo gets to his next class with Jae-young, and he figures Jae-young's gonna fuck with him the whole class, try to get on his nerves. But then he gets disturbed because Jae-young is so quiet. Because...
Oh, he has his little shield up.
Yeah, he's ready. He's prepared.
Yeah, that Gio recommended he use to block out Jae-young. And he notices there's nothing coming from the other side, so he lifts it up, and
I love the fact...
Our little boy's asleep!
He's so pretty! Oh my god. Alright, I love the fact that Jae-young can be just as distracting and irritating to Sang-woo when he's asleep as he can when he's awake.
Well, I don't know if he did this I don't know if he did this on purpose, but he was annoying just long enough for that to become the new pattern. Mm-hmm. So then that pattern got disrupted, and it just fucks Sang-woo up all over again.
I love it.
Yeah.
This wouldn't work if Sang-woo wasn't so fucking inflexible. Like, the only reason Jae-young can get under Sang-woo's skin is because Sang-woo can't deal with it.
I would like to see Jae-young, like, do this to someone else, just to see if he's really good at it, or Sang-woo is just, like so easily perturbed and thrown out of his comfort zone. Like, because it would be very, very funny if we saw Jae-young do this to someone else, and they were like, "So I can't throw my can in this trash can? I'm going to throw it in this trash can." And then Jae-young's like, "How did this happen? I don't understand." I
don't think this would have happened with anyone else, though, to be fair. Because I think if someone had one, I don't think that anyone else would be like so purposeful to forget someone like Sang-woo does. But if someone had come up to me and been like, "Look, I don't even care if you actually mean it, but can you just apologize so that I can get it out of my head?" Yeah. I'd probably just fucking apologize to you. If you don't care if I mean it, and I don't have to be sincere, you just need me to say something so that you can deal with it, fine, I will do that for you. I will do that for you in a heartbeat.
But it's the principle of the thing.
And then, well, I've got my principles, but look, if this is tearing you up that bad, that you feel like you need to come to me and be like, "I don't care if you mean it, but can you just say the words that I'm sorry?" Fine, I'm sorry.
I'm such a Sang-woo, because I'd be like, "No, I guess won't."
It depends on whether or not I like you.
Then I just throw out the shit-eating grin, just like, because I'm not sorry, because I didn't do anything wrong.
Let it eat you up, bitch.
Here, let's start with this. You need to come to class? Yeah, like, I'm on his side all the way.
Look, in real life, I'm much more like a Sang-woo, but I don't feel like I'd let it get to this point. I don't understand how you get to this point in a real life type of scenario.
Well, you have to be pretty mentally divergent, and you also have to be in a comic so that they exaggerate your features so that the story's better.
So, yeah, Sang-woo is just as distracted by the fact that Jae-young is being all quiet and still as he was when Jae-young was being
Still
loud
not
and
paying
irritating.
attention in class.
No, he really isn't. He could, but he didn't. Instead, he decides he's going to prove that he can hold a grudge, because apparently that's what we're doing now. I love the little chibi, like... And then Sungwoo has no imagination. So even though he can get even, and even though he's determined to find a way to get even, he can't draw. He has no concept of anything that he could do.
He wants to put a mark on Jae-young's face because Jay put the mustache on his last episode. And so he's going to start drawing on him.
It's so cute. I swear, he's pretty.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jae-young's a light sleeper. So as soon as he draws like a half of one line from like his nose to halfway up to his hairline, Jae-young's awake and staring at him.
Yep.
So he stops.
Yep. And he's sitting there like all like disappointed in himself that he fell to Jae-young's level and all this shit.
Yeah.
And he's still off of his game, and Jae-young is so fucking happy. He is so ecstatic that like Sungwoo marked on him, and he's so. I wrote down he's so down bad. He is so down bad for Sungwoo at this point that like
I read it as he knew that Sungwoo wanted him to be bothered by it. And so he intentionally not only wasn't bothered by it, was like, I actually like this mark. I think I'm going to wear it all the time, because he knew that would piss Sungwoo off. So I thought it was him just like still playing the game. I mean, I'm sure he liked being touched, even if it was via a pen. Well, but I thought he was just pissing Sungwoo off again.
At this point, he is admitting to himself that he's attracted to Sungwoo.
Yeah.
And he is trying to get Sungwoo to like him back. So I honestly think at least part of this was like, oh, I'm affecting you, and like, you know, like how can I keep pulling you this direction?
There's
like,
some of that too, for sure. Then in the next scene, he literally is pulling him.
Yep.
To, and he is this. I thought this was very funny because, like, in these scenes, like, fucking Jae-young is all over the fucking place. He's like, oh, the weather's nice. Oh, you have a blank face when you eat. Oh, this is like... And he's comparing... And Sungwoo compares him to like a fruit fly, like buzzing around his head. It's also the first time I noticed that the drink he likes is called Blackaholic. The coffee that Sungwoo really likes.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very funny name for coffee, and should be a name of a coffee in the real world.
It really should. That's a good idea. Someone needs to do that.
Yes.
So... Speaking of that coffee, Sungwoo thinks that Jae-young's going to be a dick about it, but he just gives it to him, which also, like, his poor little brain is like, Jae-young is breaking Sungwoo. That is what is happening here.
Like you do a purebred horse. You gotta break him in.
Yep. So they continue their little walk, and then he came with earplugs for the library, and Jae-young is just drew a very unflattering picture of him while he's studying.
He looks gaunt. He looks like he hasn't eaten in months.
Sungwoo just ended up wasting time and didn't get any of his studying done, as has been the pattern for the past week or so.
Yes. I like the line where he says sweet dreams, and Sungwoo says, I hope you have nightmares. See, he's creative occasionally.
Yeah. The next day, they basically keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then Jae-young tells him they need to go pick out costumes for their skit for their Chinese thingy.
Yeah, they gotta get costumes if they're gonna look like they're from ancient times.
Mm-hmm. Jae-young gets that done, and then he steals his hat. He finally gets that stupid hat off of his head, and Jae-young's like, or Sungwoo's like, if you stop following me around, I'll get you your own hat. Completely misreading what it is Jae-young is trying to do.
He wants your hat.
He just wants
such a cool hat.
He just wants a black hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
I'll get you
rare.
a hat. Yeah. You can't find one.
Yep.
And then Jae-young touches his face, and Sungwoo has a fucking meltdown.
Yeah. And I wrote here, because a few pages later, Sungwoo's like, maybe I overreacted. And I'm like, no. Touching without permission? No, Sungwoo, you did not overreact. You reacted exactly as you should react if you don't want people touching you again. Now, if sometime later you change your mind about that, that seems to be the direction this is going, that'll be different. But yes, right now, don't touch.
I agree with you. You should not touch people who do not want to be touched.
Yeah.
In real life, consent is key. It is important. Enthusiastic consent is necessary.
Here's the thing. I wanted to hug Sang-woo and tell him it was okay, but then I'd be touching him without permission. But I wanted to hug him and be like, no,
spoiler alert.
You didn't overreact, buddy.
Spoiler
You're
alert. In a future episode, our boy here kisses a passed out Jae-young without his permission. So maybe he's a hypocrite.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Mayhaps.
But, yes. The boy has a meltdown over his hat. I actually think he has a meltdown because
he liked it.
Yeah. And he doesn't know what to do with that information. And I do have
unlike Jae-young, he's not as in touch with his feelings.
I also have a little speech prepared on compulsive heterosexuality prepared for later.
Well, with understanding, because he is going to react to this poorly.
Oh, yes. He handles all of this very badly. But he loses his hat. He pushes Jae-young down and then runs away because he is nothing if not a coward. Why does he keep touching my things without permission?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're both children.
They are really both children.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I do agree that Jae-young shouldn't be touching Sang-woo without permission. Yep. I also do think Sang-woo could just say, hey, please don't touch me.
I feel like he said that many times already, and it did not go through. That message was stopped at the station. It did not make it through.
I don't recall him saying that. Also, I really like Jae-young, so
I understand that. I also think it's just better if these two get together so no one else has to deal with either of them. It's just safer for all the rest of us.
Well, good news is that does happen.
Yeah, but I'm getting those impressions.
So, let's see. I guess I overreacted, but he was so close, and I freaked out when he touched my face. But then again, it's not like he's a girl. Honey, you haven't reacted anytime you've been around a girl.
Well, girls never touched his face either. There's one girl in this entire comic, and she doesn't touch.
Hey, there's another.
Or hasn't yet.
You haven't met Yuna yet.
Yeah.
So Jae-young comes out to give Sang-woo back his stuff, and he says he's sorry. He was just trying to put that pigtail wig on to mess around. So he's just being a little bit of a dick, but he's still trying to be, I guess, kind of nice, at least.
Yeah,
for him
try
anyway.
to get along.
He's trying.
Yep.
And
it's also one step ahead of Sang-woo, who tries to escape by bike.
Yes. Well, and then Sang-woo says something about fine, follow me, and Jae-young pulls out a skateboard and decides to do just that because he needs very little motivation to be an ass.
Yep.
And Sang-woo basically invites some of this on himself. You told me to follow you, so he follows. And Jae-young is a really good skateboarder.
Yeah, he's also doing like ollies and stuff, and like everyone's cheering. It's like the stories that people tell that you can't believe, where they're like, I stood up and told the teacher what for, and everyone cheered, and then they carried me out of the room on a sedan, and they all bought me lunch, and now I'm dating 4 of them. Like, it's almost that. Like, because he starts skateboarding, he's doing tricks, and everyone on the sidelines are clapping and stuff. I lolled. I lolled a bit. There's a little laughing out loud at that part.
All right, so he follows Jae-young home, or Sang-woo home.
Which, if you're being followed by a stalker, don't go home.
Yeah, go to a public place.
Sang-woo makes a lot of stalker mistakes. As a stalker myself, let me tell you, like, this guy, easy.
Easy prey.
Easy prey.
Well, also, I feel like girls get taught this stuff. Dudes less so.
That's accurate, yeah.
So, yeah. Sang-woo's like, trespassing, you get 3 years in jail. Jae-young's like, I knew you'd say that. I love...
Yeah, right.
But he just tells him to have a nice weekend and leaves. Which also totally fucks up Sang-woo's head. Again, it's so fucking
Sang-woo's
easy.
into Jae-young at this point, and if you've ever been into someone, it doesn't matter what they do. It's going to fuck with you. Because if they talk to you too much, like, why are they talking to me so much? If they don't talk to you, it's like, why aren't they talking to me? Like, once you get into this crazy land of over-obsessing, like, it doesn't, like, Jae-young doesn't have to even try anymore. And I think in some ways he's trying not to, like, fuck with him too much.
Yeah.
But it's too late now, because Sang-woo's going to see everything through this crazy filter.
Yeah. No, he did set up certain parameters for the way this was going to go, and then he decides to just
subvert the standard.
Arbitrarily change them as his own means and motives have decided to change.
Yeah.
So yeah, they go their parting ways. It fucks Sang-woo up because they didn't insult each other. Which actually Jae-young hasn't done like the past 2 times, but this is the first time Sang-woo hasn't insulted Jae-young.
Yeah.
And yeah. So it throws he doesn't like things without patterns because they're unpredictable. In which case I identify fully with Sang-woo and also completely understand. I get it, my man.
Back to the title, Semantic Error. This dude is an error. He is not working the way the program is supposed to work.
No, he's not. He has expectations, and this is not the way this is happening.
But whenever you try and make reality, like, obey norms, you're gonna...
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure. Yeah. It is true. So, all day, he goes to work the next day. He works his part-time job on Saturday, and he keeps waiting for Jae-young to come in and fuck with him. And Jae-young never does. He even gets to the point where he's thinking the trash can in the alleyway is Jae-young. Yeah, and it's not.
It gets a little sad there by the end. Like the trash can is green. Jae-young wore a green jacket. Obviously, he is a trash can.
He's trying to summon him at this point. Like, he acts like he's irritated, and maybe he is, but also, when he doesn't see him, it does feel a little like he's sad. Like, it's like
Yeah. You miss him.
Yeah.
You miss him when he's gone.
Jae-young's winning whenever he doesn't even have to be there to have an impact on Sang-woo's moods. So, yeah, we get a little...
Yeah, and he's talking about his spawn rate, which anybody that plays video game knows is that how often certain enemies show up. Like in an MMO, like if you need this one little piece of metal to like make the most rarest armor in the game, and it's only dropped by the metal armantant, and the metal armantant has a 1 in 1,000 spawn rate, which means you have to go in the cave at least probably 1,000 times before you run into it. And he's talking about the spawn rate of Jae-young like he's an enemy in an MMO,
which is how he's viewed Jae-young so far. Though, as an enemy in a game.
That was the most overt. The spawn rate mention really brought it home for me.
So Jae-young does come into work the next day and orders like a handful of things.
Yeah.
And then gives Sang-woo his computer to try to fix.
And I will say this. This is Psych 101. If you want someone to be endeared to you, it seems counterintuitive, but if you want someone to be endeared to you, ask them for a favor.
Which I do believe Jae-young would know that.
Oh, absolutely. Like, he definitely took a Psych 101 course. Or he just came by it the way most sociopaths do. Just through watching and mimicking human behavior, like a psychopath would. But either way, yeah, he comes in and he's like, saying, "Woo, my computer is not working, and I know you do computers real good."
Yeah, you're real good with them electronics, right? One robot to another.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jae-young broke his own shit to have an excuse.
Yes.
To have Sang-woo fix it for him.
And had all the parts to fix it in his backpack.
In the bag.
Yeah.
He's got, just conveniently happens to have a RAM drive.
And Sang-woo only sort of gets it. Like,
yeah.
Sang-woo's like, well, that's an odd coincidence. And it happens like 4 times. And he just keeps saying, that's an odd thing.
I don't think he would ever think to
He doesn't know what a
shit.
modem scrubber is, but he has one in his backpack. How is this happening?
I don't think Sang-woo had ever considered the notion that you'd break your own shit to have an excuse to talk to somebody.
Especially not a computer. They're important.
So,
They're more important than people.
He does all of this stuff for this computer. And Jae-young isn't even remotely hiding any of it. Like, if you're reading this, you recognize, like, Sang-woo's like, it needs to be formatted. You're missing this part that fell out in your bag somehow magically. Like,
from the inside of the computer, it came outside the computer and fell into my bag. Like,
and I didn't notice.
Yeah, they're back and forth on a messenger.
Yeah.
Like, Jae-young's not actually there.
Nah.
But he's talking to him through messenger, and he's like, oh yeah, just every time Sang-woo runs into a problem with fixing the computer, the answer is in Jae-young's computer bag.
Yeah.
So he just keeps having him reach back in.
And also, Jae-young does digital animation. The notion that he wouldn't know what these things are is laughable at best. Yeah. And it just goes right over Sang-woo's head.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't... So he doesn't know what backup means, but he carries around a 1 terabyte external HDD. Like, yeah.
I've got one of those. I put all our podcast on him.
Yeah. So yeah, Jae Young's a very bad.
Weirdly, this is one of his good qualities in a way. Is that he's very trusting. He takes people at their word. Like
Sang-woo.
Yeah, Sang-woo. This is one of his good qualities. He's like, it's a bad world to have that good quality in, but it's a good quality.
It is. So yeah, Jae Young is calling him sexy and getting his laptop that he broke on purpose fixed by Sang-woo. And then he sort of walks Sang-woo home, almost.
Yes.
Playing dumb, acting like he didn't see him there. I love it.
Well played, sir.
I think it's cute. Like, they're walking together, and Sang-woo's like, where are you going? And Jae Young's like, I'm just my way home.
Sure.
Yeah, probably not. I bet you have to double back. In the live action version, they actually live next door to each other.
Oh, that's a horrible coincidence.
It is. It is a problem.
Man, imagine breaking up with your next door neighbor. Like, man, you just can't get away. You gotta move.
So Jae Young says he wants to repay Sang-woo for fixing his computer. And he asks him if he wants to go see a movie. And Sang-woo, because he has all of the emotional intelligence and I don't even know what a good word for it is like, he thinks of a movie as a date activity. So he doesn't understand why he'd go see a movie with Jae Young. And Jae Young's like, I never even said with me. He meant like I'd give you a ticket, which honestly I don't think is what he meant. But
no,
hey,
you can tell by the expression on his face. Like, he's like, ouch.
Yeah. So Sang-woo's like, why do I have such strange thoughts? Which, if he had any emotional intelligence, this wouldn't be a real question.
Yeah.
So he's like, sure. And Jae Young tells him goodnight, and they part ways. And Sang-woo's like, this is weird. Something's fishy about Jae Young. And honestly, like, kudos on him.
Finally.
For finally realizing that something's going on.
Yeah.
So we catch up back in Chinese class, and they're practicing for their skit.
Yeah.
And
reminds me, I gotta study Japanese again. I gotta.
Yeah.
Like, you get, like, talking about, like, language and pronunciation and how difficult it is and the different things you can do, and it's like, oh man, I'm not looking forward to that.
As someone who only speaks English badly, I have no advice for you there. So, Jae Young is basically trying to, like, help teach Sang-woo, because although Sang-woo can write it and everything, as we have discussed, Sang-woo's not a people person.
Yeah.
So
speaking and inflection are difficult for him.
Yeah, he has trouble understanding how to talk to people, which isn't surprising at all. At any rate, he gets a little bit better, and then Jae Young pats the back of his head, and Sang-woo's brain dies.
No.
Is which is just the funniest little Pac-Man face right here. Yeah. Jae Young's like, just work on your pronunciation, and Sang-woo's broken a little bit. The teacher likes their new script.
Yeah.
Jae Young teases her a little bit because he says that he's her favorite. So he keeps patting.
Oh, go back. This is my favorite. My favorite panel, because it has so much personality, is when Jae Young is like, oh, Sang-woo, I have plans today. Because normally he follows him around to get lunch and stuff. And there's this picture of Sang-woo clapping, like doing this just super sarcastic clap and going, hooray. And it's my favorite panel of part 2 because it's just so good. Just, hooray. And it's very minimalist. Like, he doesn't even have eyes in it. It's just very chibi. But it's the cutest panel. It
does show a lot of, like,
so much sarcastic personality for Sang-woo.
Is sassy.
I like it. He's got a little sass in him.
So Jae Young leaves him, and Sang-woo is mentally replaying Jae Young tapping the back of his head.
Yeah.
And realizing that Jae Young has other friends that aren't him. And he doesn't have any appetite. Because Jae Young went and ate went away from him, and now he's kind of sad about it.
Yeah, it's sort of the beginning in reverse. Like, Jae Young was jealous then, and now Sang-woo's getting jealous now. But he's not smart enough or socially aware enough to know why he feels this way.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense to him. Like, at least Jae Young, who's probably been in love before with both girls and guys, like, is able to immediately be like, oh, I know what this is.
Damn.
This is jealousy. Yeah. But Sang-woo, who probably hasn't, is just like, I do not understand these feelings.
This is not computing.
This is a semantic error.
the scene where he's sitting, he's like, so basically Jae Young leaves, and Sang-woo's like, don't touch me. Like, he's mentally like, I'm gonna yell at him or something next time he touches me. But
I'll show him by doing the thing again that I keep doing that doesn't work.
But then he sees Jae Young joking with his friends and laughing, and he's like, I feel good, I really do. But he sounds like someone trying to hype himself up into it, and it fails.
He's not eating, he's not getting any studying done, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next day, he notices that he's late. Like, and he gets upset that he was drinking all night.
Yeah.
And, like, asks with who, and, like...
Jae Young's gets the smart-ass smile, like, why do you want to know?
Yeah, are you interested in where I was last night? Why does it matter?
And he says, I'm just concerned who'd be foolish enough to drink with you. Which, I'll be honest, best cover. It's a very good cover.
And he's not understanding his lecture. He's upset when he doesn't see him. And yes, Sang-woo has all the emotional intelligence of a fucking 5-year-old.
Yes.
So, Jae Young being hungover and all of this stuff just seems to further bother Sang-woo. And I love it. I mean, like, this shit... like
Sang-woo kindly wakes him up at the end of class, though, which is something unexpected. That was also a little unexpected kindness.
And I think... Jae Young gives him his drink and then walks away.
Yeah. I think he says he's not going to meet him for lunch again. Which
also, like...
Sang-woo can't admit bothers him.
Yes. Again. And then he decides to buy a hangover cure for our poor little Jae Young.
Which is this is the most altruistic thing he's done so far, I think. So, yeah, he's like, I'm going to do a nice thing for Jae Young. I'm going to buy him a hangover cure and take it to him.
Mm-hmm. And when he goes to do that, he sees Jae Young with a blonde girl.
Dun, dun, dun!
Named Yuna, who I actually really like. Yuna's pretty cool. Oh. And the live-action version, I went into the show wanting to see what happens with, say, Sang-woo and Jae Young, and I walked out of the show with a crush on the girl who plays Yuna.
Oh.
She's really pretty, and I love her.
I could use another girl crush. Maybe I should watch it.
So, he gets upset seeing Jae Young talking with a pretty girl.
How dare you?
Jealousy. Thy name is Sang-woo.
Jealousy. Tomorrow we can drive around this town.
Yeah. He gets a text from Jae Young saying he's heading straight home today. Don't be disappointed.
We've all been here where you start to type like 4 different things and you keep deleting them.
Yep.
And you finally end up with like something stupid like okay or sure or the thumbs up emoji.
Yep. He ends with okay, which fits Sang-woo's personality pretty
He was
good.
trying to do some sarcasm and decided not to, which was again, as close to kind as he gets.
So he goes to class on Wednesday and he's in class with the girl. And she's trying to cheer him up because he obviously seems sad, although he can't figure out what for. And she tries to show him, like, fluffy cat and dog pictures, which he is uninterested in. But he really likes his keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also interesting, too, because, like, this is something that, and introverts just often get adopted by extroverts. They just come along and kind of scoop them up and be like, now you're with me, kid.
Yes, this is how I make all of my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and now, he would have no one in his life except these two people have forced themselves into his life.
It's true.
Like G.A. and Jae Young, if it wasn't for these two forcing themselves into his life, we would not see him interact with anyone.
Nope.
Yeah.
And he'd be okay with that, though.
He probably would, yeah.
He'd be okay with that.
It's kind of like, you don't miss filet mignon until you've had it. Like, he wouldn't understand, like, the good things about having people in your corner until he's had someone in his corner.
It's true.
Yeah.
So, when they get a break in their class, he asks Jae if Jae Young Jang has a girlfriend. And Jae's like, no, He had a girlfriend last year, but they broke up.
Yeah, and then gushes over it.
Yeah.
Like, she was pretty. I think she was a model. Yeah. Da, 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 da. Just to make Singwoo feel a little less... like, oh, okay. I thought he was out of my league. Now I know it. Thank you. And GA doesn't even think of this.
No,
like,
she hasn't considered the note. Like, this is the first time that Sungwoo has showed interest in another living thing.
Yeah.
And she just gushes on the girlfriend, and then, like...
Well, one of two things. It's either because she's so into him, she's not thinking about it. Or she's into him, and she wants to make sure that Jae Young's not in the running. Be like, look, he's out of your league. I'm right in your league.
Well,
I don't think she's that evil or manipulative.
No,
I think she's
not.
just... It went right over her head that he was even asking about a human. Because that's something most humans do all the time.
Well, I also think that to a certain extent, it's the first time... Well, one of the first times that Sangwoo has, like... He's showing interest in talking to her. Mm-hmm. So, like...
She wants to keep that up.
Yeah. Kind
of... I'll give you whatever information you need.
So, yeah, he asks how she knew that. And he's like, well, I just looked it up online. Like, she's a model and all this stuff. She used to be a singer. And then she clarifies that she's not interested in Jae Young. And her friend was. That's why she knows all this stuff. And Sung was like, I get that, but why is she so interested? And the girl's like, because he's hot. And he's athletic. And he's chill. And the first two, Sung was like, yeah, he is kind of cute. And he is a great skateboarder. But chill?
It's like, he's not chill with me.
Yeah.
He's a fucking stalker with me.
He's a demon.
Yeah. Once again, there's a weird lunch voucher thing where she's like, for some reason, there's a dinner ode here. And Sangwoo, even though he considers GA a friend, is like, here, go have some lunch. He gives her a voucher. And she's like, well, I kind of want to have lunch with you. Like, taking me out to eat is kind of the deal. Not giving me a lunch
free
voucher.
Yeah. So Jae Young interrupts their little lunch date.
Yeah. It turns into a threesome.
And Jae Young is petty. My boy is petty. Mm-hmm. He asks the Jae if she has a boyfriend. And then he points out that she's wearing makeup. And this is bullshit.
Okay.
This is a bullshit way to treat someone. Again, I have already pointed out that I don't like the way women are used in this particular story.
Yeah.
But, like, she didn't do anything.
No.
She's done shit to Jae Young, and Jae Young still decides to be a dick.
Well, Sangwoo had the right instincts when in the last in part 1 he was like, "Listen, Jae Young, leave her out of it. Like, the beef you have with me is with me." And Jae Young, this isn't a good look for him.
It's not. He petty. He petty as fuck, and I don't appreciate it.
But I also think he's testing the waters because he's trying to see if there is anything between GA and Sangwoo. Like, he's like, you two? Like, as he says it, I'm sure he's like looking at them very closely to see if there's a reaction or if anybody takes what he says seriously. Because, he's testing the waters for himself as well. But yeah, that was a little shady. Yeah,
you look like you took extra special care to dress up today, so I thought you wanted to impress someone. The girl's like, he hates me. I can feel the sting.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't do anything to him, though.
But Jae Young does hate her because he thinks she's competition.
Which I get, but, like, don't have to be a dick about it.
You do if you're Jae Young and everything's handed to you and you actually have to work for something this time.
So he at least does have some remorse here. But he steals Sangwoo's bag and goes running off. And he does...
like a psychopath. He steals his bag and just takes off running. Like, that's how two kindergartners talk about liking each other. You push them in the mud, you steal their bag. Like,
I've already established that we've got the emotional maturity of a bunch of children here. But yes, he steals his bag and runs off. And I will give Jae Young some credit. Like, he admits that he was being immature. That doesn't stop him from being immature later.
Yeah.
But he does at least acknowledge that he didn't act the best.
Yeah.
Now, and then we get like another fucking beautiful shot of Jae Young. I am just here for the beautiful shots of Jae Young. So, and he asks Sangwoo what kind of girl he likes. Someone calm and well kept. Like a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah, someone calm and well kept. Like, God, that sounds dull.
Right? So Jae-young asks Sang-woo when his first love was, and Sang-woo is like, what a vague question. You should be more clear so I can give you a better answer. Because again, emotional comprehension does not exist for Sang-woo.
No.
I'm just beating that drum. So, do you mean the first time I had intercourse or my first date? Pay attention to the words you use.
and I will say this, for the way he says that so calmly, I'm like, does Sang-woo fuck? Has he had sex at some point? Good for him if he has, but surprising. I'm surprised.
I don't know if they ever establish whether or not he has had sex.
Yeah.
But in that regard, his first love was a fucking
shoveler. The one with the long arm with the shovel on the end.
The robot fell in love with a machine the first time he fell in love. So, Jae-young's not totally wrong here. I also think that this... Well, I'll get into that in a second.
Never really loved. That's apparent here.
So, Sang-woo has a very dour, depressing outlook on the concept of love.
Yeah, this is my favorite part. It's on 144.
Yeah. There's no such thing as love. That's just a pretty name for libido used by confused and irrational people. And he's so fucking judgmental about that for someone who ends up being a very confused and irrational person.
But that's when I fell in love with Sang-woo. I was like, hell yeah, this guy's got the beat of it.
Yeah.
But it's a very common trope. You have your love story, and at least one of them has to be I don't actually believe in love.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they even do stories without that? Like, do they even have stories where both people are romantics? Because I can't think of one. You've got to have a skeptic, right? Because you have to have someone fall in that way.
All things considered, it's not really surprising when you consider just how much he loses his shit when he realizes that he's in love with Jae-young.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a bit of
he is so
immaturity.
Unprepared.
Yeah,
he
very
is so
immature.
Unprepared. But yeah, so they have this nice little moment in the park. They get ready for their play.
They both look silly.
Which is part of the whole get up. Like that's
it's to make the class laugh and so on.
To
and
get
so
the
forth.
teacher to like them.
Yeah.
He takes a picture.
It's a very cute picture.
And then they do the little skit. It's honestly like pretty unremarkable. It's just kind of cute, and it gives Sang-woo nice feelings about Jae-young because they actually do a really good job.
Yeah.
Like, the teacher likes it.
They even give each other high fives, which is not Sang-woo.
No.
Like, you imagine Jae-young gives high fives, like, obnoxiously, like 100 times a day, like Barney off How I Met Your Mother. But Sang-woo, very surprising. Very surprising for a high five.
Barney.
Don't you imagine Jae-young be
no,
like,
you're
high five, high five. Like all his little cousins. High five, high five, high five.
You're not wrong, but I had not connected that mentally before, and like that is the funniest shit. Alright. So, because they did such a good job, the teacher asks if Sang-woo will be the TA because
Jae-young is dropping the class.
He's leaving.
Which, if you recall, Sang-woo was like factoring this into his equations. He was like, I just have to outlast him because he has to drop the class before the drop date.
Yep.
So I only have to make it 2 weeks. And now the drop date is fast approaching, and Sang-woo's no longer as happy about it as he once was.
This is the day I've been waiting for. But why don't I feel good about it?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep. So, yeah. Jae-young's, like, lack of response, because Sang-woo straight up looks at him, because even though he mentally calculated it, Jae-young hadn't said anything about leaving, and Jae-young's just gonna skip. Like, he wasn't gonna say anything, I don't think.
And I love that, like, Jae-young's so charismatic that even though he's leaving the teacher in the lurch, he's dropping the class as the TA, the teacher's like, no, it was great to have you.
Yeah.
Like, you were the best.
Yeah. So, Jae-young has applied for the scholarship that he lost when he lost his thing again.
As someone who has stopped being a TA, they don't actually handle it that well. But, que sera. I'm just not as charismatic as Jay. I don't have his shoulders. That's really the issue.
You know what? That's fair.
I'm going to the gym. I'm working on it. We're getting there.
So
baby steps.
Jae-young lost his bully seat today, and Sang-woo got his spot. And Jae-young tells him that he can't keep taking this class. He doesn't understand a word of it. And the professor looks like that one penguin from the kids' cartoon. I laugh every time I look at him. So Jae-young's dropping this class too. And then he's like, you finally get some peace. Cafeteria for lunch, right? And then he pats his head again as he leaves. And Sungwoo's like, I'm definitely going to tell him, don't touch me next time. But then he's like, all like...
Once again, distracted.
Distracted during class.
This time because the professor does look like the penguin from the cartoon.
Yep. Something feels off, but what? Seriously, what the hell's wrong with me? Oh, honey, the list is long and extensive.
You're a blackaholic, for instance.
Yep. The root of the problem is gone, so why hasn't life returned to normal? So then he spends entirely too long staring at the picture that Jang sent to him of them in Chinese class.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like something's raging within me. I can't focus. I should just head home. And then Jae-young comes, and now he can study. Because
dun, dun, dun.
The problem has changed.
He found his calm.
Yep. I've gotten used to Jae-young's presence. I let myself get too caught up in this error. My mind's all messed up.
Aw, poor kid.
So, he gets a piece of grass out of his hair, and then Jae-young leans in entirely too close and asks to go see a movie together. And at that moment... This is actually...
We get sex ed and 3 easy speech bubbles. That's how I describe this.
This is true. We do get sex ed and 3 easy speech bubbles. And this is also where I'm going to get up on my high horse for a minute after we talk about the scene. Because I wanted to take a moment to talk about compulsive heterosexuality, or comphet, which is a thing I first heard on ContraPoints a couple of years ago. But the mother... So, Sang-woo... gets turned on is basically what happens here. You get these really nice panels of like a close-up of Jae-young's lips and like all up in his face.
That breathless whisper in the air. Like,
yeah. And he starts reciting like the Korean national anthem or some shit. And then you see a little panel of like a sex ed talk, which is like very efficient, I'll give. It is very...
3 panels.
Sungwoo,
3 speech bubbles.
Do you know what's inside your testicles?
All done.
2 to 500 million sperm waiting to be released for the purpose of reproduction. That's right, they're stored there until they're released through the penis as a result of sexual stimulation. You're still a minor, so until you reach legal age and find yourself a consenting, which I do have to give Mama credit here, a consensual sexual partner, you ought to rely on self-gratification.
That's a sexual partner, not lady.
Well, in other words, masturbation.
Yeah.
It's taboo to engage openly in such activities, so make sure you do it in private.
Yeah, don't masturbate in the middle of class.
Please, dear God.
Yeah.
And take care of to always wash your hands before and after. So...
Boom.
That's it. That is
honest to God, if you took those 3 panels and just read them out in most sex ed classrooms here in the southern East Coast United States, they would have more sex ed than they had before you did that.
Very true.
Like
when I was in high school, when we went to health class for sex ed, the very first words out of our health teacher's mouth was, "We won't be talking about abortion, homosexuality, or masturbation." Yeah. But we all got those plastic babies where you could pretend like you had sex and were a mother now.
We got eggs. I threw mine. I put mine under my desk chair. And crushed it before I left the classroom that day.
And this is how I knew I'd be a bad parent.
Responsibility, not my strong suit.
So, at any rate, according to Cheyenne M. Davis, the notion of compulsive heterosexuality is the notion that heterosexual relationships are the only valid sexuality, and everyone is kind of expected to be straight. And although I do give Mama some credit for saying sexual partner, there is a notion, because they're talking about...
She also says the sperm is only for procreation.
Yes, for the purpose of reproduction.
Yeah.
Everything is framed in this notion of, you're going to find a woman, you're going to get married, you're going to have babies.
White picket fence, 2.5 dogs, or kids.
And I know that this is a Korean novel, so, like, it doesn't have all of the exact same kind of notions as it would have here.
Yeah.
But it is still... And I'm sure I don't know as much about Asian cultures, but there is still a lack of acceptance for homosexuality in a lot of those places.
Yeah, I can't speak for Korea, but I know there is in Japan. But I also know if you want to, what's your bright spot, buddy? That it's much less than it was 15 years ago, and much less than it was 15 years before that. And so,
small improvement,
arcing towards justice, we can hope.
We want, yes,
yeah,
we do hope. But Cheyenne says that it is harmful to queer, trans, and or non-cisgender folks. It erases and demonizes identities while simultaneously trying to force us to adopt a system where we all must perform straightness and cisness. Now, this doesn't deal as much with the cisness, but it is interesting that Sang-woo finds himself in a situation where he is attracted to another man, and because our societies are what they are, he lacks any type of way to acknowledge that within himself and to handle it in a decent or respectful manner. Oh. So, compulsive heterosexuality is basically the societal nudge that forces folks into adopting a heterosexual identity regardless of whether or not they really want one. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's one of the reasons why I like a lot of the BL comics, and I've been reading a lot of gay literature on purpose.
I assume they all struggle with, this is a part of most of them, where the person's like,
well, I think some of these
struggling with it.
This one I think does a really good job because Sang-woo is such a, I'm going to say, interesting examination of kind of an identity that he hadn't considered, because he had an erection without any direct stimulation. Jae-young just getting close to him got him all hot and bothered.
Right.
No one touched his penis. Like, Jae-young didn't just grab him or anything. No. But just getting close to him threw him off.
Yeah.
And I don't think he had ever considered this kind of identity for himself.
No, obviously not.
But it puts, I think this is a good examination, and not all the boy loves do this, but it's a good examination of why these kind of situations where people are why it is a lack of education of homosexuality is damaging to people, because his mother never told him about this.
No.
There was never any acknowledgement that he could find himself in this kind of situation. And compulsive heterosexuality does things like, well, even if you want to apply it to even Jae-young's behavior, he doesn't know if Sang-woo is interested in that girl, but he assumes because the girl's a pretty girl who's hanging around Sang-woo, that of course Sang-woo's going to want to be in a relationship with her. He's even planned their fucking wedding.
Yeah, well, you're playing the odds, because I imagine if you're a gay, and this again for a white straight man in quote marks, if you are a person who is attracted to the same sex, the odds that person is also attracted to the same sex, at least in society, how they currently view it, are less than 50-50. Like, the amount of, if I'm a guy and I'm trying to find a gay guy or a bisexual guy to take as a lover, the odds that any guy I meet is going to be interested in that is lower than a woman, as far as, just sexuality. That's not... You're taking out all the factors like, are you sexually attracted to that particular person? Like, just as far as that sexuality goes. Like, the odds are less. So, it's... I don't know, it feels like Jae-young, it's kind of a safety measure that you put in to protect your heart before...
That is what compulsive heterosexuality is, though. The assumption that everyone you meet is straight. Because straight is the default.
Right.
And because straight is the default, like, that notion of, like, of Sang-woo lacks the education to understand the same-sex attraction that he is experiencing. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the crux of the whole problem of this manhwa, because, I mean, the girl's there, but she's really more of a red herring than an actual problem at any point. Yeah. The majority of these problems...
As is the blonde girl for... Young.
Yeah. The majority of these problems come from Sang-woo's inability to understand homosexuality, because no one has ever bothered to teach him anything about it.
Right. To the point that I don't even know if Sang-woo is even though he only talks about women, I don't know if he's bisexual or if that's just literally the only way he can connect sexuality, because he has been raised without any mention of homosexuality.
And he talks about everything in measures of efficiency.
Yeah.
But, and so it's more like an equation that he thinks he's solving than it is anything that he actually understands the emotional connections with. Like, I had a thought 2 seconds ago. Oh well. But
that's on me. I apologize.
Well, no, he views everything through efficiency, and he doesn't understand how people connect. Almost. I also, honestly, I was going to say, I don't think. I think as far as human sexuality goes, and as far as Seng Woo goes, I think for him, I kind of, because they don't actually label it, but I kind of view Seng Woo as demisexual.
Okay.
Which just means it takes him a while to feel sexual attraction.
That's the definition of demisexual?
Yes. The more demisexual, so I'm actually demisexual.
The more you spend time with someone, the more you get attracted to them.
Yes. Because for demisexual people, attraction is built on emotional connections.
So for a demisexual, there's never attraction at first sight.
Well, it may be like, it's a different type of attraction. So I may be like, oh, you're cute. Right. But as far as like, I would actually have sex with you, that takes a while to build up.
Okay, I don't have that.
Yeah. No, but
just checking. I always like to, every time I hear about a new sexuality, I have to make sure. It's kind of like when you get sick and you look on the doctor's page to see like
I got cancer.
Like stuffy nose. I either have a common cold or throat cancer. Interesting. Yeah, anytime I hear about sexuality, I need to make sure see if I fall into that category.
So I consider myself demisexual as well as pansexual, but because I may like the way someone looks, but as far as being
pansexual, be in love with the goat god Pan.
Yes, obviously. Have you heard of the goat god Pan?
Hey, I'm a sucker for some hairy legs. Like European ladies. Get up with your boy.
At any rate, for demisexual people, it takes emotional connection and time to build a sexual attraction. Okay. And although it is not actually confirmed at any point, I do kind of feel like that's where Seng Woo falls in, because it takes a while.
Well, the only example we have was a demisexual example where he met someone and over time got to not hate them.
Yeah. Well, he got to view them as a person.
With his personality, that's how it's got to work, right? Like, I don't think he could be anything else, because he's not going to give you the time of day until you forced your way into his life for months and months on it. So yeah, you're probably right about that.
But I thought it was an interesting. I actually wanted to save it because they do actually touch on it more in some of the later parts, but I'm not exactly sure. Revisit it. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to get to the later parts of Semantic Error, so I did just want to put that out there because, one, I don't know how many people are even going to listen to this, but
hundreds.
I do think it's important to put notions out there that people maybe haven't heard of. And I know people personally.
I play the part of that person who hasn't heard of most of these.
Well, I know people personally who've only, and I'm one of those people, who've only come to understand their sexuality as they've gotten older in life. And
well, also as the terms come out, people always talk about how I mean Christians and Republicans mostly, but people are always talking about like, oh man, kids in my day didn't used to have fill in the blank with this disorder, again in quotation marks, that kids have today, like ADHD, which was ADD in my day, and maybe something else now. I don't know if it's changed terms again, but they were like, the kids in my day, they didn't have ADHD. I'm like, they absolutely did. It wasn't diagnosed.
Yeah, they didn't have a phrase.
People used to think seizures were possessions by demons and ghosts, so it didn't mean people didn't used to have seizures until science figured out what a seizure was. These things have always existed. You can find examples throughout all of history of all these different sexualities, of all over the map.
Yep.
But, language is always evolving, and we're finally coming up with words for things that have existed forever.
Well, and some things were always there, but then things get straight washed, or when they're writing the history, they just leave out, Or, to play a devil's advocate for kindness, a lot of it's just ignorance. Yeah.
Like if I didn't know, me from 5 minutes ago, if I didn't know demisexual was a thing, I wouldn't write about it in a story. I would just be like, they took a while to get to know each other, then they fell in love and had a kid. Like, I wouldn't know to use that terminology. I wouldn't know to imply that one or both of those characters had never fallen in love before because they'd never let someone get that close. Like, none of that would have even entered my brain pan to use.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely some straight washing and some, it didn't involve a white man. Why does it even matter? But a white straight man wasn't involved. Irrelevant. And there is some of that, but there is also we're getting smarter as we evolve as a people.
Well, I'm not saying that ignorance can't be had. Like, you didn't know, but that doesn't mean you didn't sit here and tell me it doesn't exist. I think that that's the difference.
Well, I thought about it. But then I realized if we want a Patreon, I've got to fucking kowtow to the social justice warriors because I want their money.
Thank God, because we need more space. Also, we need more voices.
No, yeah, I try to, honestly, if someone tells me something exists, I usually believe it to have a reason not to. Like, especially if it's something about their own sexuality. I'm certain,
You mean you're not going to tell me how I'm not?
If you tell me you have a foot fetish, I'm not going to sit here for an hour and try to argue with you why feet aren't sexy. I'm just going to go, neat. It's not my bag, but God bless you.
Hey.
There's some OnlyFans where people are just rubbing baby oil on their feet, and they need money too.
About to say, I have thought about doing the foot thing.
Here's the thing: if I thought anyone wanted to see my hairy big toe, I would already be doing. I don't
personally find it sexy, but if someone is willing to pay me, I'm not going to put that on the internet. Never mind. We're going to.
That's how I will. I mean, that's how I handle sexual relationships. Honestly, there is some of that. It's like, look, if I don't get off on this, but you do, I'll throw you a bone sometime, and then you can do that thing that I like that you don't really care much for. It's give
and take.
Give and take, yeah. And if it's an OnlyFans, it's give and take. You give them oily feet, and they give you money, God willing.
$50 for a foot pic. At any rate, though.
For our Patreon subscribers, $25.
75.
You're going to charge them more?
Yes.
Why?
Because
you want to split it with me? That's so sweet.
Yeah, there are more people involved in this particular situation. No, I do think it's important to put out ideas like that don't get as much time of day. And I know that me personally,
it's why you're here.
I didn't know that there was a phrase for the notion that everyone is straight. I didn't realize that there was an idea, like a concept. And this isn't like, I'm giving a very Spark Notes kind of version of it.
I'm sure 100-page theses are out there on it. Yeah,
I don't have the time or the energy for all of that. But putting it out there so that if someone else is interested in the notion, they can also
if there's
look
a particular essay that you are a fan of, if you send me a link, I'll put it in the show notes, and people can follow this rabbit hole as far down as they wish.
Yeah.
Because
it's just I think and they do touch on it more later, but I do think it's an interesting sort of snap of the way that he is partially unprepared because no one ever told him that people can experience attraction in this way. It was never explained, and he handles it so very poorly. Like, the scene that follows him he runs into the bathroom because Jae Young gave him an erection.
Yeah. And
he runs into the bathroom and he's like, I don't want to see a movie with you. And Jae Young's, because it's me or because you don't want to go to movies with a dude? Both. And then Jae Young is offended, obviously. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he says he's trying to pay him back for fixing the laptop. Is that so bad enough for you to storm out like that? Mm-hmm. Sang-woo, are you dumb or what? Spending time with you is torture. How is that paying me back? And then Sang-woo is basically like, I wish you'd bully me again because, you're being weird and this is weird shit and he doesn't like it. And yells at him for whispering. And then he lists off the physical reactions he's having. His skin's hot, his mouth's dry, his heart rate is increased, his penis is hard. Although it just says penis fuck, which is really funny.
Palms are sweaty mom spaghetti.
Yes, yes. So, penile erection is a physical response to male sexual desire. Its primary purpose is impregnation of a female and reproduction of the species. He
read that in a book.
He read
or his
that
mom
in a
told
book.
him to that during another sex ed speech
that we didn't get to see.
Yeah.
So at any rate, like
for that panel, I just wrote error is fuck.
So yeah, I almost feel bad for him, but he's such a fucking dick about it that I honestly kind of hate him a little bit during this part.
Yeah.
So he decides not to go to school because he can't deal with...
He's just going to take the semester off.
Yeah.
Like, not just not go to school that day. He's going to drop out for the entire semester because of the ear whisper.
Yeah. Because he got hard. Because he had an erection. He had an erection and he lost his goddamn mind. I mean, this is thinking with your dick, but just in the other direction.
Yeah. Like, I've gotten him from stiff breezes before, and I don't go canceling nature. Like, I'm like, I'm never going out on a windy day again. I am not attracted to wind. Don't you let anyone tell you I like wind that much. I don't.
Jay Young just wanted to go see, like, a movie with him and see what he's like when he's immersed in a world. And, like, I thought I could pull off the nice act, but for some reason it's not easy being fake with Sang-woo. So he gets all, like, upset, and then when he realizes Sang-woo's not coming to class, he goes to confront him at his house, excuse me.
Nope.
And he bangs on the door. He must have looked at my unit, he must have felt my unit by looking at the bike number.
Yeah.
Basically, they have a fight through the door.
Yep.
And Sang-woo is a coward. He's a coward.
He immediately threatens to call the police.
He immediately threatens to call the cops. Jay Young's like, were you that weirded out by my suggestion to see a movie together? Enough for you to skip class. Seriously, you skipping class? You're the kind of nerd who'd scramble for the best seat, even if the world were about to end. But yeah, Jay Young's upset because...
Well, because it's someone he cares about, saying he doesn't want to spend time with him. And, once again, as we've seen from, 400 pages of this, he can't handle rejection. Jay Young cannot have someone, like, not like him. That's his semantic error. He's like, it does not compute. Someone does not like me and want me around. I cannot handle this. Especially not from someone I have feelings for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sang-woo's like, I will only go to the movies with a woman I want to marry. Because he isn't... I can't with him at this point.
Woman I want to marry. I love the idea. He's like, some girl asked him out. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't see marriage potential in you. I can't go see the new Avengers movie. I apologize, but if we're not going to spend the rest of our life together talking about what we saw in that movie theater, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I got to move on.
So Jay Young puts tickets under the door and marches off. Sang-woo's trying to convince himself that that's fine. He doesn't feel anything
I didn't like
at all
that guy
about it.
anyway.
Yeah. No, this is not a problem. It's not at all. So he goes through his routine without Jay Young. For like 3 days, he's just going like full blast into it. And then it doesn't do him any good because all he can seem to think about is fucking Jay Young.
Literally fucking Jay Young.
Literally, that is all that is happening here.
This poor guy. This poor little fella. Okay.
We're almost done.
Well, no, my notes are page number, and when you have it like that, I don't see page numbers, so I have to make sure I didn't go past it.
Right here.
Occasionally.
Yep. All right, jeez. Okay, so yeah, he's going through his routine. He keeps thinking of things that Jay Young said, and he's having a really hard time. I actually do kind of feel bad for him here. He got 3 chopsticks, but forgot to get a spoon. Like, they restocked his coffee. He's not interested. Like, he's just...
Because he still has a case at home.
He is so zoned out and, like, kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad for him. Like, you just get all these panels of him just, like, staring at nothing.
Even gaming's not fun for him. As a gamer, that's how you know.
Yeah.
You got it bad.
That hurts.
That's the unkindest cut of all.
Yep. So, yeah. He has a talk with his teacher about him missing class, and he's having trouble concentrating, but the teacher sees... Like, the professor tells him that, like, everybody knows who he is. He's smart. Like, he can still pull his grade up and all this stuff. Oh. And then he sees Jae Young hanging out with another friend of his. He's, like, calling him gorgeous and talking about how he's tall and he's got a sleek figure and just all of these things that, like, he's got it bad.
He's got it so bad.
He's so done. He's out. So
he starts looking for pictures of Jae Young.
Who hasn't cyberstalked a crush?
Occasionally, you take a picture, you download on your phone, you make it your wallpaper and hope they don't notice. You know, just normal stuff.
Or you do what Sang-woo does, and you save all of his Instagram photos and make a bunch of folders with them.
Like sane folk do. Yeah.
I love it. He's insulting him as he's saving all the photos. Poser, attention seeker, fake smile.
Yeah, he's insulting like every picture.
As he saves them.
Yeah.
You protest too much, motherfucker. Like, you're not fooling anybody. So.
And then he compares it to the only love he has, which was for that truck when he was a kid.
Excavator. That's the fucking word. It's an excavator. There you go.
Yeah, thank you, translator.
I had this exact feeling when I first laid eyes on that toy excavator. Just looking at it made my heart race with excitement. I want it.
I also had an excavator, but it was actually green and purple, and he was 1/6 of the Constructicons who formed Devastator, who you may remember from our Transformers episode.
Look at you bringing it back.
Green and purple robot that crushed shit. Yeah, excavator was cool.
This boy spent all night looking at photos.
Yeah.
Of Jae Young and saving them in files on his computer.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's morning. I've been doing this all night.
Yeah. Jae Young, what have you done to me? Make sure I never see you again. So 12 days after... I love this little, like, the error screens.
Yeah.
Day 2, extreme temper tantrums, severe anxiety, frustration. Day 3, mild irritation, mild anxiety, doubts. Day 6, confusion, anger, easily distracted. Day 12, depression, anger. We are going through the cycles, and for 1 minute...
It's almost the 5 stages of grief.
Sang-woo knows what it feels like to be a normal person.
Yeah.
So, yes. So... Symptoms were 1, 2, and 3 were brought on by Jae Young's presence and disappearance. However, symptoms are caused by his absence. So Sang-woo realizes he's got to get Jae Young back.
Why for that?
So he ropes the poor girl back into it.
GA, I need your help.
Yeah, will you go out to lunch with me?
Yeah.
So if you choose to go, he's going either way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're going to come, though, be there by 6.
Which, let me just say, very smooth if you actually are trying to pick up the girl.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, look, no pressure. I'll be at this restaurant at 6. It'd be cool if you showed. Like, if not, no biggie.
So, he has to ask her last name again.
Handled.
Yeah, they go out...
to a very particular restaurant.
Yeah, they're going to the Olive Tree, which is where...
Jae Young works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which he finally remembers, actually. I'm going to give him some points for that.
Yeah. And
when we get there, Jae Young sees them...
and compares them to the Bambi deer.
Which, I love the little evil Bambi.
Picture.
He's an evil Bambi.
Yeah.
So Jae Young figures they're out on a date.
He's like, yeah, they'll come in a couple more times, and next time they'll be holding hands, and next time they'll be a couple. Oh, man. Oh.
And he handles that poorly. But he decides that, you know what? Sang-woo's a guy. I've slept with guys before. I've never wanted to date one. And he's just like, and even then I can't imagine what it would be like to date him. Mm-hmm. Which, obviously, you're thinking about it, so you're not that opposed to the idea.
Right.
So, my attempt to act like a nice senior was all for nothing. And in time, my feelings will fade. At least that's what I thought. I love the evil Bambi. It's so cute.
Yes.
So when he comes in with Jae Young decides to go take a break. Sang-woo sees him leaving and is like, is he avoiding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you told him to go the fuck away.
Yeah.
What do you expect him to do? So he gets food he doesn't like.
Yeah.
And pretends to eat it. And then he straight up kind of skips again.
GA, I'm out.
But he leaves his wallet this time, so at least he won't just totally disappear like he did last time. So he goes out and finds Jae Young on the side of the building. And Jae Young's straight up like, I'm not talking to you. I'm on the... Like, he's on the phone.
Yeah.
And Sang-woo's like, tell him you're busy and hang up. I've got something important to say.
Yeah, I love that. And, see a problem, solve a problem. He's like, hey, you're on the phone, but I need you to not be on the phone because I need to tell you something.
I gotta talk to you, so drop the phone call.
Yeah, drop that. Priorities here.
Yeah. Jae-young does hang up, and Sang-woo calls him Hae-young, which Jae-young has spent every page up until this point trying to get him to do, and...
He finally did.
He finally did it.
Because he wants him on the project. He wants to go back to the project.
Now he's decided that he wants him on the
video game project. He's like,
because that's the only excuse he has to spend time with him.
Well, here's the thing. He straight up drops some compliments. He's like, look, you're very creative, and I'm a very good programmer, and together we could make something awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, do you want to? And Jae-young is understandably dubious about this. And isn't sure if he wants to get back in. Like, Jae-young had decided to move on and to put distance between them. And now he's got to decide if he's going to keep about that trail or just give in and try one more time with Sang-woo. And you already know which way this is going. He's like, yeah, let's try and do this project.
I just really love this because he confronts Sang-woo about the Hae-young thing. And Sang-woo's like, it's just a slip of the tongue. And... Sang-woo's like, well, am I not allowed to call you that? Everyone else does it.
Yeah.
And Jae-young's like, no, not you.
You creepy Bambi.
Creepy Bambi. But I love this part because he goes through all of this. He's only ever concerned with efficiency. It's easy for him to forget about our fight and now that he needs me. And in that sense, I guess he doesn't hold grudges, but I'm different. Does he have any idea what kind of hell these last 2 weeks have been for me? Which... It's all your own fault, Jae-young.
Also, we don't, because we were watching it from Sang-woo's point of view these last 2 weeks. But it's nice to know that Jae-young was going through something similar in his own life.
I have to turn him down. And all of the boxes about like how he needs to not be doing this are thrown out the window because he's like, are you sure we can get it done before the semester's over?
No.
He knows he shouldn't do it, but he's going to do it anyway.
It's a bad move, yeah.
Yeah. So, Sang-woo asks him to work on the project, and Jae-young thinks it's a damn good excuse to hang out with him, so he says, fine, we'll do it. And Sang-woo says, I'll call you later, Hae-young, and then Jae gets an error.
Shit, I'm screwed.
Yeah, shit, I'm screwed. Did I just get turned on by him calling me Hae-young? Yeah, you did.
It's a reoccurring theme of people getting turned on by things that they don't want to be turned on by.
You gotta love it.
Hey, getting turned on. It's the most involuntary of reactions.
I guess.
You can't control what turns you on. You can only control what you do about it.
I adore Semantic Error. This is, again, as I said the first episode, I love this shit. The enemies to lovers. I like the clashing personalities. I'm here for all of it. So, our big question.
The big question!
What is your favorite pairing if you could make an enemies to lover from comics, video games, etc., besides Leon and Chris from Resident Evil?
That was a burn from our Twitch streams. Luigi and Waluigi. No, I'm just kidding.
That is an interesting direction. Interesting direction.
I kid. That was my stupid answer. You should go first while I come up with a better one.
All right. My favorite enemies to lover pairing from things that I have read would probably be Draco and Harry.
Now, this is one that hasn't happened, but you would like to see? Okay, got it.
Yeah. I'm just talking about opposites and stuff. I really like... And this is also probably because I did read too much Dreary fanfiction, and I am still currently going through all of the AO3 tabs of Dreary fanfiction. I'm down to 12 or something, but
Progress.
Hey, look, it started at 4,000. I've done a lot.
You've done your no one says you can't. We're gonna pretend that's all for the podcast. No one said you haven't done your homework for this podcast.
Nah. Well, I've been reading Dreary fanfiction since I was 12.
Well,
so
you've been working on this podcast a long time.
But yeah, no, I really like it when you have that kind of magnetism that even if it's not something like this, at least logically makes some sense. There's the forced closeness and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I really like it when you have the opposite, the enemies to lovers type of situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, my favorite pairing would probably be Dreary. I tend to purposely read a lot of enemies to lovers stuff, though. So,
Yeah.
I like Dreary. There's a book called Red, White, and Royal Blue, which has an enemies to lovers type of situation that happens with a prince and a first son.
Okay.
It's really nice. I enjoy... Look, enemies to lovers is my favorite trope.
Yeah.
I always have enjoyed.
All right. This one, first of all, I'll have to say that, like, I have trouble with enemies to lovers that just fucking make no sense. Like, a lot of people ship Batman and Joker, and that makes no fucking sense. Like, there's no way that Batman could forgive Joker for, like, the horrible things he did. And no way that could ever work in any sort. Like, Joker definitely has a thing for Batman.
I think it's because they're both bottoms.
Maybe.
Like that TikTok I sent you. I think it's because they're both bottoms.
Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, like, I can't see Batman doing anything but loathing Joker.
Yes.
A lot of Batman villains people ship with Batman because so many of them rely on him for their own. Like, if Riddler doesn't have Batman, he's got no one. Like, if Two-Face doesn't have
their whole
Batman, he's got no one.
Their whole identities are
is
made
around
in
that
opposition
person. Exactly.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't get behind. So I'm going to go for a really weird one.
Okay.
And it's actually two enemies that are also enemies of each other that were hinted at lovers vaguely, but nothing ever really came of it. And this is actually from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And He-Man's been, in the comics, has been rebooted many times. And eventually we are going to read my favorite of all those reboots that happened in 2012. But before that...
This is why I don't feel bad for making you read Boys Love. I've read Transformers and we'll be reading He-Man.
And G.I. Joe. We're hitting the three boy loves of my youth.
There you go.
80s cartoons.
So I'm just saying, turnabout's fair play.
So, did we watch the Netflix He-Man cartoon?
Yes,
okay, so you are vaguely familiar with these characters.
Yes.
But this would be Evil Lyn and Triclops. And in one of the comic revamps, Triclops was made as like a he was kind of like a Ronin samurai type who was all about honor, and like he was always struggling to find his place because he was a for hire guy, but he also wanted to keep his sense of honor. And he was loyal to Skeletor because Skeletor had saved his life and saved his eyesight, or at least so he thought. It turned out that wasn't the case, but Triclops never found out. So Evil Lyn is always kind of tempting Triclops with, like, betraying Skeletor, because we could have all that power.
Yeah.
And Triclops is always struggling with his, like, attraction to Evil Lyn and his attraction to his honor code. So it's, like, the perfect setup. Like, how many stories do you have about, like, I can't be with you because of honor? And, like, I mean, everything from Romeo and Juliet to, like, King Arthur's court with Arthur and Lancelot and that little tryst with Arthur's wife. You know, like, it's a common trope. But this is enemies who are enemies also to lovers. Like, I thought it would have been really cool, like, if at some point, like, Evil Lyn had gotten out of that abusive relationship with Skeletor, and Triclops had also gotten out of that abusive relationship with Skeletor.
Skeletor's the problem here.
Skeletor's definitely the problem here. And those two had, like, kind of hooked up and became a unit. And there were hints of it.
Yeah.
But it was all, like, at the end... Triclops would always, like, rat her out to Skeletor, but she would keep giving him chances because I think she liked him. She liked him. Like, in the Netflix, he's more of a psycho, like, techno cult leader. Like, he's a totally different animal. But in that particular comic storyline, it would have been nice to see those two go AWOL, because Triclops, he is my number one of Skeletor's minions, because in the comics, he is, like, super technology whiz. He's also an amazing tracker. He's a swordsman that is as good as He-Man. Like, he's an amazing swordsman. Like, man, he's the total package. He's a good-looking guy, even though he has a weird Triclops hat. And, you know, like...
Fashion notwithstanding.
Yeah, his fashion notwithstanding. Him and Evil Lyn could fucking make beautiful music together. Aww. And I hope one day they get to. I hope someone writes that comic one day.
Hey, you never know. There's fan fiction, I promise you.
I mean, no doubt. If I type in Triclops, Evil Lyn, Rule 40 whatever. What's the rule for
I just type in fan fiction. I don't know about the rules.
Well, I mean, I'm just going for a quick image. I don't need...
I like the stories. I like it.
I also like the stories sometimes, but, like... Yeah, like, I'm sure they've been hooked up in stories and pictures many times.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I prefer. I know. Part of the reason why I read so much fan fiction is I like really long series. Mm-hmm. So, like, I like it when things get to, like, delve really hard into the characters.
Yeah.
So, I read a lot of fan fiction just for that. But I also, thinking about it right now, I really like... So, I've been reading The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation.
Yes.
And eventually that manga will also be one that will
also pop up.
Yeah.
Great.
But in the book, there's a bit where Zhu Yang and Seong Xingxing, I'm probably pronouncing that all wrong.
Those sound perfect.
They are living together for a while. And in the novel, Zhu Yang is fucking, like, insane psycho demon type dude. But he lives with Zio Xingxing for a while. And I have a enemies to lover arc for them, too. Even though he is a psychopath. I like the notion that there's some way to redeem him.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
You can fix him.
I can't. I'm leaving that all to the fictional dude, because
Fictional dude can fix him.
Fictional dude can fix him.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot of mess I don't want to involve myself with.
It's fair enough. Well, Cecilia, thank you for Semantic Error Part 2. Next week, in 2 weeks, we're going back to my neck of the woods, and we're actually going to take our first foray into horror comics.
I really liked this one.
Yeah, we are going to be reviewing and reading The Nice House on the Lake, which is a DC Black Label. I believe it's our first foray into DC Black Label. If not...
it's definitely our first horror.
Yeah, it's our first horror, and it will not be our last. And I really loved it. I loved the art. I loved everything about it, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Which will be next episode.
Yes, 2 weeks from whenever you're listening to this episode, provided I get it out on time, which I totally will. In the meantime, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
This is a sign off, and don't forget, Twitch stream Reno_V on Twitch, Sundays at 9. That's Eastern Standard Time. And also the 2 other podcasts, Judgmental Horror Junkies and Top 3 Anything, which are both once a month podcasts, so you can do less work with those.
And click on the link about the compulsive heterosexuality.
Yes, there will be a lot of links on this one. Or there'll be 4.
Yeah.
One more than the usual amount.
Well, it's a good... I'll find a good article.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Bye-bye.
Bye. Peace out and all that.